Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Texas Specialty Hunts Live TV. This week we've got Jim Huntley, our chief guide and firearms instructor, with us. We'll give you guys a few minutes to get on board here. So we'd like to know where all of you guys are from. So if you'd jump down there and post in your comment where you're from, that would give us an idea of where everybody's watching from and help us in the future on our broadcasts. This is Jim Huntley.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen?
So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to talk about the AR-15s that we use in helicopter pig hunting. And so we're not here tonight to sell you guns. We're not here to sell you suppressors or brass catchers or anything like that. We're just here to tell you what we use and why we use it. None of these companies sponsored us, so we're not married to any of them. Over the last 10 years, we've just found out what we like, what Jim likes, and how it works for us. You know, our main thing that we're concerned with is barrels, because we run through barrels fairly quickly. So we've got people from Houston, Adirondacks, Indiana, Wisconsin, California, New York.
Sir Jorgensen, that's Byron up there in Wisconsin. How you doing, Byron? He's a repeat customer. He knows what it's all about.
All right, so I think we've got a pretty good calls in from Tennessee. We've got a pretty good audience here, so we got a lot to cover tonight. So we're going to jump into it. So Jim, what we're going to do is let's talk about why we use AR-15s.
Okay. Well, notoriously in the past, a lot of the predator control and pig shooting that's been done out of the helicopter in Texas has been a shotgun affair. You know, when you get paid to go up there and kill animals and take care of a rancher's problem, you want to be effective. They want you to be effective. And so everybody pretty much used a shotgun. In the business now, since they passed the pork chopper bill here in Texas, and companies like us can take our clients on these hunts, we've switched to the AR platform because the black rifle is really popular nowadays, for one thing, and we also know they're fun to shoot. A suppressed AR is probably one of the most comfortable, funnest shooting guns you can get your hands on. But they're fun in the helicopter because you get a little more shooting. You know, if you use a shotgun, they're very effective, but they actually do the job too good. Matter of fact, so the AR platform gives you the ability to shoot a gun that doesn't kick like a shotgun does. It doesn't make as much noise as a shotgun does, so your comfort level is high. You can stay in the scope and really stay on your targets much better. And it also gives our clients quite a bit more shooting out of the helicopter when they're using an AR, because there's some missing going on, right, Travis?
Absolutely. And that's part of it. You want to burn a lot of ammo and have a good time, right?
Yeah, we'll burn a lot of this ammo right here.
So you want to start with Adams and why we use Adams and how we like Adams and all that good stuff?
Sure. So this black rifle right here is an Adams Arms AA-15 from Odessa, Florida. It's not that we think Adams Arms is the best black rifle out there. We know that there's a lot of good rifles out there, but there's a couple things that make this rifle really friendly for our business. For instance, when I pull the charging handle and the bolt carrier out, the bolt in the bolt carrier for an Adams piston gun is spring loaded. So that's one thing that I like. Not all these bolts in the bolt carriers are spring loaded. I think it helps keep the thing clean, and it helps everything work inside this bolt carrier as far as the bolt goes quite a bit better. The suppressors are going to back up your gas. They're going to make your guns dirty. So anything that you can have in your parts and your gun that's going to keep it moving, working, and performing as it gets dirty is a better thing. So these guns and their bolts and carriers have the spring-loaded system in them, and I like that. I think that they're not self-cleaning, but I think they run longer dirty better than guns that don't have that spring load on them. And then also Adams Arms have a piston gas system that I like. The gas block in here has an adjustment that you can change. So if you don't have a suppressor on the gun, it's got one setting, and then it's got 3 other settings for a suppressed situation, depending on the can that you use, the size of it, the size of the chambers in it.
You can see.
You can fine tune. Yeah, there's all different sizes of them. So what the adjustable gas block does is it allows you to fine tune the gun. You can tune the gun in, and that matters as far as the action, where your empties are ejecting out of the gun. You want to make sure that you tune that, because we use the brass catchers on the weapons, and we want to make sure that they aren't hitting where they're coming back against the action. So Adams has done a really good job with their piston system and their gas block system that makes the gun highly adjustable. And when you use a lot of different suppressors and different equipment on your guns, that makes it a lot better for us.
That's the gun we kind of started out with 10 years ago, is the Adams, and over the course of 10 years, we've brought on some different brands of firearms, and they're all good. Don't get me wrong, but you've got to think of it like this: it's a skeleton. So it's a skeleton that you can modify, that you can adapt to whatever you're doing. So Jim, he makes these guns, he builds these guns up to what he thinks is the best for us. It may not be the best for you guys, but like I say, we're not here to sell you parts. We're not here to sell you guns, but it's just a skeleton, right?
Yep.
When we can do anything you want with it.
That's right. The basic lower and the basic upper are machined identical across the board. Just about any AR-15 that you buy, you're going to be able to take any parts out of one and put them in another, and that's because the main parts of the gun are machined identically across the board. So there's very few models where you can't put a trigger from any gun into any other gun. So the biggest thing about the gun is the parts you're putting in them and the furniture you're putting on them. What you're building them with really makes the difference. Your optics, your stock, your hand guard, your trigger for sure. Some of the spring parts in there, there's different weights of springs for different applications. Even in the buffer tube, you're going to have different buffer weights. So some people use like the H2 buffer, which uses the heavy weights in it. It's got 2 heavy weights in it. The H1 buffer has 1 heavy weight in it and 2 regular ones. So that's raising, as you go into an H1 buffer and an H2 buffer in your receiver tube, then you're increasing the weight of the buffer. So it's trying to dampen the gun down. But with our guns, like the Adams guns with the highly tunable gas block, we can adjust that gas block so that we can run the lighter buffer in the gun. We don't have to run a big heavy H2 in the gun because we can adjust our gas block. So that's going to keep the gun a lot more user friendly. It's going to keep a lot of that big motion out of there, and it's going to keep you in the scope and on target a lot better. Shot after shot, you can just stay in the scope that way.
Sarah Johnson says hi.
Hi, Sarah. How you guys doing up there? Love you out on the lake, right?
She's talking about the guns and how good the guns are set up, and she said a great job, Jim. But go ahead. I was just going to say.
Yeah. So Byron and his buddy came down. Sarah had to stay at home, but she wants to come down the next time. She's a heck of a sportsman. Byron came down, did a pig hunt. He went back home that year in Wisconsin, and his wife shot the 2nd biggest buck in Wisconsin that year when he got home. So she had a little. There you go too.
Yep. Okay. So Adams, we like the Adams, and like I say, these are the guns you guys are going to be using when you're home with us. So we wanted to bring these on to show you what you can expect when you get here, and you can look at them so you have an idea of what's going on. Is there anything else you want to say about Adams?
Well, they're our preferred gun. I do want to say that we have 8 Adams in our lineup. We have 4 older guns that are continuously rebuilt and rebarreled that operate just like brand new guns. And then we have 4 new Adams. So we have 8 in the inventory right now that we're running full time. They're not necessarily the go-to gun, but they are our workhorse. You know, we've got 8 of them, and they run strong. They run good. Everybody likes them, so they're definitely a big part of our inventory.
I agree. It seems like every time you grab one, it's an Adams when you're going on a helicopter hunt.
I know I grab them.
So let's we'll come back and we'll hit on some other stuff here a little bit about the guns, but we're going to go through the brands the platforms that we use, the skeletons. So the next skeleton we use is a Black Rain. So here's your Black Rain.
All right. So this Black Rain, and most of them that I'm familiar with are gas guns. So they're going to have a non-adjustable gas block and a gas tube going into the action. So these guns are notoriously dirtier than a piston gun. I don't know. I think that when you put a suppressor on any AR-15, it's going to be a dirty running gun because you're backing up a lot of gas and you're backing up a lot of burnt gunpowder. But the thing about a gas gun with a non-adjustable gas block is you have to be careful when you put a suppressor on them that the gun's going to operate right in the action, and that it's going to kick all your empty casings out correctly and into the bag correctly, because you don't want the gun to jam. Now, some of the guns that don't have adjustable gas blocks, like the piston guns do, you can't fine tune them the way that you can those. But normally, if you put like this Black Rain with this Black Rain can on it, runs pretty good.
And that was the original suppressor we started with.
Yep, we started with these original steel Black Rain suppressors, and they were really good. But they, you know, they're one of the models that you can take apart and clean, so that added a little bit more work for me. Some of the other models that we have now, we don't have to do that.
Not a little, a lot.
Yeah, when you're running 8 guns with suppressors, you have to take apart and clean. That becomes a pretty big workload.
So the first thing I noticed about the Black Rain is it's just a bigger profile. You know, it's a bigger handle. It's a bigger, you know, it's just a bigger gun.
Yep, they got a little wow factor on these. I think that when you buy the basic gun, you're going to find that you want to maybe change a few things on it, change some of the furniture on it. But Black Rain, they're pretty good deal. I mean, we run these guns pretty hard, and they hold up. They hold up
good.
These 2 guns still have their original barrels. They've got a nice fluted. They had a good fluted barrel in these, so they're pretty strong.
That's one thing I do like about the Black Rain guns is the barrels that come stock in them. It seems like we got a lot more life out of the barrels.
Yeah, the Black Rain stock barrels were pretty
now,
tough.
they probably don't get as much abuse as because Jim Huntley always grabbed at them, but you know, I mean, they get a fair amount. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm sure they've had plenty of rounds shot to them.
Well, and the guys that know my guns that have been here and come back, and myself and some of my crew here, they know these piston guns run good. And it's pretty easy to grab one and pick it up. When it's set up like this, gun right here, it's pretty hard not to grab it and take it.
All right, we've got Mike from New Brunswick.
Hey, Mike.
He's in with us. Hi, Mike. All right, let's talk about Barrett's.
Okay, Barrett Firearms, man, they're notorious, right? Famous. Ronnie Barrett came up with the 85 50 cal. And then he came up with the M107A1, the lighter version. And we haven't had the pleasure of meeting Ronnie Barrett, but Chris did come out and shoot pigs out of the helicopter.
Yeah, Chris has been with us. Chris told us about this platform, and he actually brought one with him on the hunt. And he set us up with a couple. I think they were just coming out when he was there.
Yep. So Chris, Ronnie's son Chris, is one of the lead designers at the company now, of course, and this is his Rec 7. It's the Recon 7 that he came up with, and he brought what, the first one to ever go kill anything and shot it out of the helicopter.
I believe it was the first one, because you know when he went back and said, you know, I think this is a good platform for you guys to try out. It took us a couple of months before they were in production, before we actually received them.
Yep.
But you know, you can tell, you can show them, you can flip them around and show them, you know, I mean, we use it. I mean, can you see the paint kicked off of it and all that good stuff? You know, we use them.
So, and then that's the other thing. When these guns get really dirty, so we clean them all the time. So the Cerakote can come off them like that. And it looks like an old beat up gun, but this is actually not that old of a gun, is it?
It's not, but it's had a lot of rounds shot through it.
Yep, a lot of rounds. People like this one too. A lot of people, when they shoot my guns on the range, they like the Barrett, so that's something that they might choose to
They
use
like
out
the
of the
name,
helicopter.
they like the name of the field. Or both.
Well, I think both, and I think they like the idea that it's a piston gun as well. It's an adjustable gas block and a piston system, and this is a really tough gun. You know, it's not a cheap gun to go buy. But I was impressed with them. Chris brought them and shot them out of the helicopter, and they ran really good. And when we had a chance after he's back in Murfreesboro, he sent us a couple of them, and we're running them strong. I'm running my second set of barrels out of these. So I've got 2 of these Barretts, and we keep them running real strong because people do like them. We have the Torrent suppressor on this one. It matches the green. But these guns are pretty tough. They look beat up, but that's just because they get used and they get cleaned and they get used again.
So if any of you guys have any questions about what we're talking about, feel free to jump on the comments. Ask us any questions, and we'll try to answer them. And we don't have the answers for everything, but you know, we've done our fair share of helicopter hunts, and we've handled our fair share of AR-15. So, you know, we may not be right in everything we say, but we do the best we can, and you know, we're pretty successful with it. So jump on there if you have any questions. That's covered all the brands. I think probably what we should touch on is, do you want to touch on the furniture that goes inside of these, or do you want to talk about how you clean them?
Well, I think that what I want to talk about too is on these guns now. When you go buy an AR-15, honest to God, the lower and the upper are machined identical across the board almost. So it doesn't really matter which gun you buy. If you have a particular brand gun maker that you want to buy their product, Radical Firearms or, you know, SIG or something, you can choose that weapon. But the way that you're going to really fine tune your gun and set it up for you is going to make all the difference in the world. You know, the optic that you use, and we'll get into those, where the optic's placed on the pick rail, the stock that you use, the adjustable stocks. I found that some of them, even brand new, will jump forward on you when you shoot the gun. And something like that I can't have. You know, I can't put a gun in the customer's hands and have the stock come in a little bit. Or so there's certain furniture that I appreciate a little more than others, but that's one of the things that you got to pick through is what's right for you. The optic that's right for you, the suppressor that's in your price range that's right for your gun. The biggest thing I think in customizing your gun is going to be your trigger. We have a lot of people here that come and shoot our guns that maybe have never held a gun before in their life, and definitely never held an AR-15 platform in their life. So in these guns, I use a 3.5 pound pull single stage trigger. Now the Barrett guns have a 2-stage trigger. So the guys and gals that absolutely know their guns and can tell the difference when they get on a gun and can tell the difference between a 2-stage trigger, a good trigger, and a regular mil-spec trigger, they're going to appreciate them. The single stage, I think, are safer in the helicopter. They're crisp, they're clean, and they're only 3.5 pounds. But it's enough that, you know, it's not going to go off unless you mean it to.
And some of these guys may say, you know, are we actually shooting out of the helicopter? Absolutely, you're shooting out of the helicopter.
Absolutely.
Some of the guys that haven't hunted with us or new in the weekly show now, they want to know about it. I had a question last week. The guy said, you know, I really want to go helicopter hunting, but my wife doesn't believe that it really exists. And so it does exist. This is what we do. We shoot pigs and coyotes out of the helicopter for ranchers, you know, working ranches. So yes, that's what we do.
Yep, and we take 2 doors right off the left side of the helicopter, and you know, we'll put 2 hunters in there, front seat and back seat, and they'll have a seatbelt on the headset. They'll be able to talk to each other and the pilot, and they'll hang out that door, and they will shoot animals.
So the way I gathered, in my opinion, is trigger, #1 priority. Barrel, number 2, correct?
Yep.
Would you classify it as that? Because most people, they're not going to shoot a barrel out in their lifetime.
Well, I would say maybe number 2 for most folks is going to be their optics.
Okay.
And then maybe third would be
because they're not going to shoot the barrel out anyway.
Right, because they're not going to shoot so many rounds that it's going to matter.
We're putting we try to figure out how many rounds we get through a barrel, but we're saying somewhere around the 15,000 mark. Would you agree with that?
Yep.
And so general barrels, we're going to say around 15,000.
But that's with a lot of maintenance and cleaning.
Absolutely.
That's not just leaving them dirty.
And that's where I want to go next, is I want to go talk about, what you do to clean these guns, and, how often do you clean them? Do you disassemble them completely? What do you do?
Okay, so on a typical hunt, we'll run 2 guns and a backup gun. So there'll be 3 guns involved in the hunt. The backup gun doesn't normally get used, but things do go wrong with guns. Sometimes a spring will go down, a pin might come loose, whatever. There's things that do happen with these things when you put them through a lot of use. But when they come out of the shop, they're ready to go. You get in the course of a hunt, you shoot 300 rounds. Maybe the gun got dirty. Maybe something is not working just perfect with it or something. Your time in the helicopter when you're shooting up there on this hunt is really important, that everything goes good. So we don't want anything to go wrong with the gun. So there'll be a backup gun. Now, if the backup gun gets used, it might get dirty. It might not get very dirty. So at the end of that hunt, there's 3 guns that are dirty. So they'll have to come back in the shop and get cleaned for the next hunt. Nobody wants to pick up a dirty gun, get their hands dirty, and wonder how dirty the gun really is. Is it going to work? So we go through a process with the Hornady Sonic Cleaner where we break the gun down to a certain point to clean it, to make sure that all the moving parts get cleaned and everything gets oiled back up. I take the guns apart. I submerge everything in a sonic cleaner and cook it for a couple hours. And then I take everything out and scrub it in a sink with Dawn dishwashing soap. And then I take it out and I blow everything dry with air. And then I take the parts and the gun and I saturate them down with gun oil. And then I blow them out with air again. And I blow all the excess oil out, wipe everything down, wipe everything out. And they kind of come out like a brand new gun. And that's important because when you get back in the helicopter and you're going to run another 200, 300, 400 rounds through the gun, you don't want it to start failing right away or fouling. And then when we get to the point where the barrels are shot out, we'll know that by going to the range. A bullet won't have a perfect hole in a target after the barrel's shot out. You're going to lose your rifling, and then the bullet's going to start tumbling after it leaves the barrel. So the moment I see a impact on a target that is not perfectly round when I'm sighting guns in, because after they get clean, they go back out to the range and they get sighted in and they get worked. So we know they run good and that they're dead on. At that point, then I'll know the condition of the barrel by the flights, the shoot in.
We recently switched to these barrels. You want to show them what we're
Oh yeah,
using?
so now Faxon Firearms is a great company that make great barrels. And these guys now are working with us to supply the barrels for all our rifles because they want to do the pig gun too, just like all you guys. So they're very interested in what we do. They're looking forward to having a lot of good times down here with us. So, and we're going through barrels. So Faxon's sending us barrels. This is I can actually take it out. This one is a Twisted Flute Match Series barrel. So like when these Black Rains get shot out, they've got fluted barrels in them. Well, when I replace those fluted barrels, they're getting these match grade Twisted Flute.
This is what they look like.
Beautiful Twisted Flute on them. And that's a Match Series barrel. So that's a very accurate barrel. So I'm going to look at this right here.
We just felt like the customer support at Faxon was spot on. You know, we've talked to the people. They're very nice people. They're spot on. They know their stuff. They have inventory, and we can get it. Right. You know, that's one of our main problems is just availability of stuff.
And
we go through
truth
so
be
much
known, we
stuff.
couldn't really get facts and barrels until we started working with these guys a little bit, and then they decided that they want to work with us. And so these barrels that I just got actually were just produced.
Oh, really?
When I asked for them, they were in production.
Oh, nice.
So he kind of gets me in the head of the line there. But when I order barrels from Faxon now, they don't have a bunch laying around, just like any people that have been out there trying to buy ammo recently, right, Travis? It's
Right.
not laying around in big supply.
Right.
Barrels and parts for these guns is kind of going through the same problem where there's not a huge availability. So these guys are taking care of us, though, and these are good barrels. We like our guns to be dead on. It's such a fluid environment up there that you don't want anything but accuracy. It's tough enough the way it is. People think it's going to be shooting fish in a barrel out of this helicopter, but it's not. The pigs are running and you're flying around, and it's pretty tough. You need good equipment. Right,
Yeah,
Travis?
Andrew wants to know if he can bring his own gun.
Own guns, yes. There's a couple of clarifications I want to make on bringing your own weapon. I would prefer it was a piston gun, so the gas block's adjustable when we can it.
You're gonna use our cans unless you have your own. And Andrew, you obviously have your own suppressors, but a lot of guys don't. So we do allow guys to use and girls to use our suppressors. But go ahead.
Right. So if your gun's set up the way we need it set up out of the helicopter, you're fine. If it's not, if you need a suppressor on your gun, if you need a red dot scope on it, you don't want any magnification out of the helicopter. So if you need the proper optic, if you need the proper suppressor, or the clip and the brass catcher that we use to catch all the hot brass in the helicopter, then what we'll do is we'll set your gun up.
This is our brass catcher. So what this does is we attach it to the gun. It's got a decant slide. We attach it right there. You can hold it up, whatever.
Yeah, slides right on the clip.
And so what this does is it catches our brass in the helicopter. What we don't want is hot brass in the helicopter because we've got Lexan windscreens, Lexan doors on one side. We've got a pilot sitting here like this, and if I'm shooting like this and one hits him in the collar, he gets a little hot under the collar.
They don't want Garrett flying funny and get a hot one down his neck,
So he gets upset. So
yep.
In safety, we went to the brass catcher for safety because there are some stuff in helicopters that can have complications of flying brass.
Yep, there's some pedal slots in there. You don't want things in.
You don't want stuff in there, and there's collectors that you don't want brass in there. So we fixed that with this guy right here. It's a little bulky, but it works for us. We've been using it for a long time, and so we've got to put one of those on your gun when you get here. We've got to put a suppressor on there. So we ask if you are going to bring your own gun, we like for you to stay at the ranch one night prior to the hunt. So we can set you up because the helicopter time is the expensive part, right? So when you're up there, we don't want you to have any problems. Jim's going to set you up. He's going to take you to our range, and he's going to set your gun up like we set ours up. So we ask you, if you're going to bring your gun, book a night stay with us. You'll be money well ahead, and you guys will have a great time at the range with Jim. He is an expert in the field. He's done hundreds of helicopter hunts. He's been with the company for a long time, and he does a great, great job.
Even if you have your gun set up, it's nice to have the time to shoot the gun on the range, make sure everything's going to work. Like Travis said, when you get up in that helicopter, you don't want anything going wrong. You want a trouble-free experience up there. So having a little bit of time on our ranch before we go on the hunt with your own gun is ideal because you'll get a chance to make sure it's set up properly and you'll be able to shoot it in. You'll have confidence in the accuracy of your own weapon, and when you go up there, you'll be able to do a really good job on those pigs.
Do you want to talk about optics next, or what do you want to do? We've touched kind of on suppressors, brass catchers.
Okay, so I want to talk about these mags real quick. Sure. So I use the PMag 30s with the window in them by Magpul. See if you guys can see that if I can hold it still. Okay, it's important for me to use the ones with a window in them. Here's a broke open one with ammo in it.
Here's the Magpul PMag 30 with the window, so you can actually see the rounds that are in there. It's got a black line there it's got a purpose.
You can see if it's loaded. You can see how well it's loaded. But that's just the window isn't the only reason why I like these magazines. I've used a number of different magazines in these weapons, different weapons across the board, and this magazine right here is the only one to buy. And I'm not saying that because I'm selling magazines for these guys. Last time we bought magazines, we bought what, a box of 100 of these?
I think it was 100.
And we use them.
There's a
They
big
get
box.
dirty. They're tough. I mean, every once in a while you'll get one where the fin on the top will crack and you can't use it. But I've only had probably 4 of those out of 150 of these things in the last few years. So they don't break. They get dropped fully loaded with rounds in them, and they don't break. They're just tough. I like the window because you really can see at a glance for the customer's sake whether it's loaded or not. We can tell by feel. We know. And if you've shot on a range before your hunt, you're going to experience all that. So you're going to know. But
why don't we put a black line on
the window's effective. And then some of them have a black line on them.
it? It's a Sharpie line is what it is. We use a Sharpie and just put a line across it.
So in this, on this spring that's in here, there's one cross of the spring that's painted to be an indicator here. And that tells you how many rounds are in there. There's numbers on the side of the magazine, and the indicator will tell you how many rounds are in the magazine by how far the spring is depressed. We only use 20 rounds in a magazine, and there's a little line on them that'll be where the indicator is when there's 20 rounds in the magazine. But we do this for a few reasons. One, it keeps the gun lighter. It's not as heavy with 20 in it as versus 30, because you have a suppressor on the gun, you got all this furniture on it, the sight, and you got the ammunition in the weapon, and they're pretty heavy. I mean, they're not comfortable to hang on to.
No, yeah, I mean, and you got, wind and all this other stuff.
And if you don't grab a good grip out on this on the handguard, out on your forestock, and pull it tight into your shoulder, the end of the gun wavers around quite a bit. It makes it hard to shoot. So weight's an issue. Another reason why we only put 20 in the magazine is so you don't have jams. We don't want this gun to have too much spring pressure on you, especially people that aren't really fluent with the weapon. Might be their first time using an AR platform. I don't like them to have troubles with the gun, and limiting the number of rounds in the magazine is big on that. Even the special forces guys that come and work with us and train with us don't put 30 rounds in a 30-round mag. Those guys maybe put 28, and that's it. And it just keeps you from having problems, keeps the gun a little lighter, and it gives you a little life in your magazine too. You got a spring in here that's going to wear out. So if you're maxing out with 30 all the time, the life of your spring is going to be substantially less than if you either leave them unloaded or don't put as many in them. Now, our magazines are loaded all the time. 24/7, 365 days a year. When we need to go shoot, we grab a can and we take them out the door, and those cans are full of magazines, and those magazines are full of ammo ready to go. So having 20 in them instead of 30, I suppose, gives us some life to our springs as well.
That's life lessons, man. We didn't know it starting out, but we know it now, right?
There's methods to our madness because we learned our lessons.
There is methods to our madness because we've learned a lot of lessons in 10 years, right?
We have.
And so, okay, so we got to jump into optics so we don't run super long. We're running a little long now, but, we're doing the best we can. We're trying to cover everything in a short TV show here, but
all right, so optics. Some people like a prism type optic that sits up on the gun like that. It's kind of a halo deal. It's got a window screen looking deal on it. I'm going to say those are too fragile for our industry, for what we do.
They're blingy. They're
blingy. They're nice. A lot of guys like them. We've got a few. We've got them on a couple of these semi-automatic shotguns we run, and they're nice. Some guys like them, and we can put those on a gun for you if you want them. But there's a lot of options out there. Like this one right here. This is a Bushnell. It's affordable. It's small, compact. But the thing about this one is it rides a little high off the pick rail. So some of my customers don't like that. It doesn't seem as user-friendly as some of the other ones. But there's options out there, like I say. It depends on your price range. Now, my gold standard here at Texas Specialty Hunts for a red dot optic are these aim points. And these aim point red dots are durable. They're user-friendly. The battery life in them is incredible, and they're really easy to operate. The switch is right on the back of it to turn it on and off, and the light is adjustable just with the click of a switch.
I don't think we've ever had one customer give us negative feedback on an Aimpoint. Some of the guys, it seems like the older gentlemen or ladies, we have a lot of ladies on with this,
Aimpoint Patrol, that's the one right there.
have said some things about not being able to see the dot clearly, or a halo if you have astigmatism with some of these other red dots we use. But I don't think we've ever had anybody saying negative on an Aimpoint.
Nope.
So, which model is that?
This is the Aimpoint Patrol.
Patrol.
Yep.
And it takes a AA or AAA.
Actually, it takes a little bit different battery than that, but they're common.
Common battery.
Affordable,
No
common.
problem.
Batteries Plus has everything we use, so
Okay.
no problem there. So some of them, like this one, uses more of a watch battery. This one uses more like a AA, but it's a shorter battery. So almost all your optics use different batteries. So if you have different optics, you're going to have an assortment of batteries like us. But one thing that I've learned in the business too is keep it simple. You know, if you find something that really works, maybe stick with it. I know that I like to. Aimpoint Patrol red dots, these are amazing things. They're user friendly, they're durable, they're tough as nails. Everybody likes them, so I've got a bunch of them. You know, a lot of my guns are set up with those,
And
but I have other ones
we
too.
got some old ones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
we have some we've been running for quite a few years.
Years.
And I've never sent an Aimpoint Patrol back.
No. Some of these other ones that we use, we've had some problems with here and there. But you know, we're not here to bash anybody, but you know, that's just
some of them come on automatically when you raise the gun. You know, and they'll stay on for a period of time. If it goes motionless, and then it'll shut off, and that helps you with the battery life. But if you ever pick that gun up and raise it up and it doesn't come on, that's going to be one you're not going to use anymore.
right. All right, what's next?
Well, we talked about the barrels a little bit. So we talked about cleaning earlier. Now this is a upper receiver. This is a barrel nut right on there. All right. This is completely taken apart. This gun here. This got a real fine trigger in it. This is one of my Black Rain guns. That was a 300 blackout pistol. And these guns are going to go. I've got some new pistol barrels from Faxon that are going to go in these guns, and they're going to become AR-15 pistols in a 5.56 223. So we're going to have another option if the guys want to shoot a pistol gun in the 223, they can. Then they won't have to opt for shooting the more expensive 300.
And the method behind that, method behind the madness is a totally different show. So we'll cover that on another show why we did that, but there is a reason why we did that. So, you wanna?
So nice. So this, when we redo our barrels in our weapons, that gives us a chance to break the gun down completely, all the way down, and clean everything. And then, so when we rebuild the gun, it's like a brand new gun all over again. It's going to have all the wear and tear and the scratches and the nicks and the Cerakote coming off, but mechanically and function-wise, it's going to be a brand new weapon. And so we do that about every 6 months or so with these guns, don't we, Trav?
Oh yeah, yeah. So if you guys have any questions for us, you pop on pretty quickly because we're going to try to wrap it up for this episode. But we'll be back, next week with another episode. Is there anything else that you would like to touch on?
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on if you have like a 300 blackout and you want to bring that weapon, we can set those up too. We do have 30 caliber suppressors, and everything else that we use on the AR-15 5.56 223 platform works on the 300 blackout. So don't be afraid to bring your blackout if you want to shoot that.
Bring your long range guns.
Just make sure you bring plenty of ammo.
Yep.
You can bring your long range guns for the long range. We'll get into that. One other thing I wanted to touch on real quick was the GoPros.
Will Welch is with us.
So this is a Fantaseal pick rail bracket for the GoPro. And this one, I don't know how well you can see it, but this one right here clips on the pick rail of the gun like so. And this is one of my favorite ones for mounting the GoPros to the rifle.
So good point on that. All these rifles or shotguns, all these come with the package. You know, you can go shotgun, or you can use the AR-15s with the suppressors. For you guys, for you folks that don't currently own GoPros, we now offer a GoPro package that you can add on for a fairly reasonable amount. We'll send you home with an SD card, and you've got all your footage.
Yes, sir. So we have an option. You can put it on your head with a headband like this. I think that's the best way. GoPros have mounts that you can put on your chest, but it seems like the gun's always in the way of some of that footage. They have a number of different ways you can set your GoPros up, but the pick rail mount that I have and the headband mount that we have right here, that's probably your two best ways to get the footage that you're going to get of you shooting out of the helicopter.
Those two are the way to go. They're easy. They don't get in the way. You know, these things kind of get in the way.
You know, nowadays with travel and the hunt and everything, if you don't want to go out and go through the whole experience of buying a GoPro and learn how to use it and all that, just come down and you can go ahead and get the GoPro package. We'll set you up and we'll capture your once in a lifetime experience.
So here's a picture of. I just want to put those in there real quick.
Good stuff.
If you guys want to book a hunt, reach out to our sales team. Rob and Mercy, very good folks. They're very knowledgeable about all of our hunts, not just our helicopter hunts. You know, all the exotic hunts, our whitetail hunts, predator hunts, helicopter hunts. Good folks. The phone number's up at the top of your screen, 515-0175. Here is the phone number at the bottom if you guys want to see it there. Of course, our website, texasspecialtyhunts.com, or helicopter pig hunting, either one. Rob and Mercy will help you out organizing your trip. Jim will be there to pick you up at the airport in the motor coach.
Yes, sir.
Get you back to the ranch, get you checked in, hit the range, shoot all these guns.
Have some fun.
Jump on the Ranger, go get some good stuff, and then helicopter hunt the next day.
If you book a hunt quick and come down now, I know it's hot, but we hunt early in the morning, but we got a lot of baby deer on the ranch. The ladies sure love petting them bambies. So
yeah, you had a good hunt this morning.
Yeah, we had a really good hunt this morning. We had a good one the other day. Had a little 2-hour hunt this morning. They did really good. And then we had a 2-hour hunt the other day. They did pretty good too.
So thank you guys for joining us. Next week, we'll be back with Texas Specialty Hunts TV. We'll be live. We'll be talking about another topic. So thank you guys for joining. Share our page with your friends. Subscribe on our YouTube channel. We're here for you guys, and we appreciate your business. Thank you.
Thank you.